What's up, everybody? This is the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. Back here at Rebel Studios, it's your host, Wolu. Alex Wong's here. We got a very special guest in the building, Alex. We got an Olympian. Do you have a whole intro set up? What do you got for us?
I mean, I wasn't going to work that hard, man. It's a Friday, my brother. But, you know, we do have to give a special intro. Not just an Olympian, bro. Olympic gold medalist, man.
That's right.
Why did you not show respect up top? Come on, Phil Wizard.
Yes.
Hello.
Olympic gold medalist in breaking. He's here joining us. We're here at the Red Bull Studios. I think this is the only time in our life we're going to be around an Olympic gold medalist. Unless the basketball team does something.
Yeah, we're going to need the basketball team to go a little harder than they did this year.
Yeah, stay out of this, Phil.
Don't worry. You did your part. You did your part. Thank you for letting us all take photos with the medal as well. I feel so accomplished by having done nothing. But yeah, seriously, thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I'm sure life has been crazy since becoming a gold medalist.
Yeah, it's been a ride for sure. I've been kind of all over. I haven't really been home too much. But, you know, just riding the wave, taking the opportunities and kind of enjoying the spotlight as I go.
Yeah, I want to start, I want to let people know about your story as well, because I think you have a really interesting story kind of getting into breaking, leading up to the Olympics. But like, let's just go to that Olympic day when you're competing. Take us through that process of like that day, like walk us through, and then we'll have questions for you as you kind of go through.
Yeah, for sure. The whole Olympic experience is pretty unique, and it was my first time obviously there. The day of was actually probably the least stressful. Like the week leading into it is probably the most stressful because there's so much new information. You're in the Olympic Village, you're meeting all these athletes. It's a new world for us, for me too. And so it's a lot of stimulus. All at the same time. The day of is probably the most calm in the sense that it just felt like another event to me. It felt like a BC one. It felt like something I was used to. So that was when I was the most calm. Let me think back. What happened when I got there? I don't know what time I arrived at the venue. I think we got there quite early. The girls go the day before, so we were able to go and watch and kind of get a feel for how the setup is, how the vibe is, whatever. You get there on our competition day, and we get to the warm-up area. That part is probably the weirdest because the warm-up area is outside. So it's outside and open to the public. So people can like come watch us while we're warming up, which is a little bit of a weird scenario because the positive is that it meant like my friends and family could come up to me and talk to me, whatever. But you have people like shouting your name, asking for pictures while you're trying to like focus in. So that was a little bit weird. They start off with the round robin. They get into it pretty quickly. You go there. They give you the rundown of walkways and where you're going to walk through and how you get onto the main stage. Round robin is the first half of the day. I think it started at like noon. It's like 12 to 2, and then there's like a 2-hour break, and then they finish off with the final, something like that. Or I think it was 2 to 4, and then 4 to 6 there was a break, and then 6 to 8 was the final event. So the round robin was cool. That's when it was the hardest for me. Going into the round robin, I knew I would probably make it through. I had a pretty decent bracket. It wasn't too hard for me. But the first round, I had the hometown favorite, Danny Dan, who I eventually battled in the finals. So right away, you could feel the energy, like being in France. Like the moment he stepped down and started doing stuff, the crowd would erupt. And I was like, okay, this is going to be hard. But I won those ones. I kind of swept in my round robin. I think I lost one round against Kuzia from the Ukraine, but went through the round robin pretty easily. I didn't feel that great. Like going into the day of, I didn't think I was going to win. Like right when I went into the round robin, I was like, I don't think today is really my day. And after the round robin was finished, going into, there was the 2-hour break, but during that 2-hour break, we could figure out who we were against in the next round. And I was against, in top 8, my friend Lee from the Netherlands. An amazing dancer, like for me, one of the best in the world. And I was already going into the top 8 where I was like, I think I'm going to lose this. Like this is probably where my journey ends today. I didn't feel all that great that day, especially after the round robin. I felt warmed up, but I was like, I don't feel like fully in it today. And Lee was looking really, really good. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to win this one. And we had discussed before, because we're really good friends, we had talked before, like, okay, if you just do your job and get first in your group and I get first in my group, then we won't meet until the finals. But he messed up and he didn't get first in his group. He got second.
It's his fault.
So I was like, damn, bro, you didn't do your job. So I got first in my group. He got second. So we ended up meeting in the top 8. We had the 2-hour break, and I was very lucky with that 2-hour break because that's, I think, when it clicked for me. Like during that break, I think is when probably most people started to crack because it's a 2-hour break. It's a long time to have to like cool down and warm up again. And then there's a lot of, again, stimulus. There's a lot of people in the warm up area like watching you. I really got to zone in. I hung out and talked with my friends and family for a little bit. And then I had the headphones on, took a little nap, woke up and felt great. I was eating a baguette. I had my, I was eating a baguette and then had a little bit of food and then felt really good. Went into the top 8, battled Lee, and again, going into it, I was still like, I feel better, so let's just go, let's have a good time. And usually my mindset changes when I know, like, when I put less pressure on myself. So going into round robin and stuff, there's so much pressure for myself, from other people, from the country, whatever. And so going into the top 8, I was already going in with a loser's mentality. I was like, I'm going to probably lose this one, so I might as well just do everything, which actually relaxed me a lot. And so going into the top 8, I felt really, really relaxed. And then going back and forth with Lee, I could see that he was not completely on during our battle. He was killing it before, and he was still doing really well, but just not on par as before. So I could kind of taste the blood a little bit, and I was like, oh, I can win this one. Yeah. Won that one, got to the semifinals. The semifinals is the most nerve-wracking because, again, I have a loser's mentality. I didn't go into it thinking about winning. I wanted to win a medal. That's all I wanted. I was like, I just need to get at least a medal. I don't have to win the whole thing. So going into the semifinals is the most stressful because if you lose the semifinals, then you have to battle again for the bronze medal match and fight for the medal. And I was like, if I just win this one, then even if you lose in the finals, you still walk away with silver. So like, that's pretty decent. So the semifinals is probably the hardest one. I mean, I'm pretty honest about this. I thought I lost the battle after, but I won 3-0. When I looked back on the footage, I understood why I won, but in the moment I had felt that I lost. But after I won that, it was like no pressure. Going into the finals, I was against Danny Dan, which was unexpected for me. I thought Victor was going to beat him in the semifinals, and Victor from the US, he's like all-time one of the GOATs. So I was like, thinking in my head, if I battle Victor, I was like, I'll probably lose, so it's all good. But when Danny Dan went up,
over here.
yeah, when Danny Dan came up, I was like, oh, I think I could actually win this.
Yeah.
Danny Dan's incredible, but usually by the end of a competition, he's kind of out of moves.
Yeah.
Whereas I do well because of my vocabulary. And so going into the finals, I felt like very confident. And after the first round, I was already like, oh, I think I'm going to win this.
Yeah. So like the semifinals, you're talking about like, oh, you thought you had lost like after you went through. And I think for a lot of us watching, just like not familiar with breaking, and there wasn't a lot of explanations too, I think on the broadcast about like the judging and like how the scores are going to be. Can you like explain to us a little bit just in the context of like that semifinals match? Yeah. Like what did you think were things that maybe you didn't do as well as the guy that you competed against? Like how, like what was that process?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
That out?
I mean, like you said, there's not a lot of explanation, and that's something that definitely needs to change for breaking, but it's so subjective. When I'm going to something like the semifinals against Shiga Kik, he's someone I've battled so many times. Actually, specifically in the semifinals last year, in the whole Olympic process, I think I battled him like 3 or 4 times in the semifinals, and I've yet to lose to him. But that also kind of puts more pressure because you're like, oh, this is the Olympics. Maybe this is the time that I'm going to lose. But going into it, the reason I thought I lost because he was just executing everything. He's very dynamic. He's very sharp. He never messes up. He's very explosive. And in comparison, I felt like I wasn't responding well in what I do best at. I felt a little bit lost in my movements. Things weren't connecting super well. But I was kind of just faking it till I made it. So even if I messed up, I would just kind of figure my way out of it. So in the moment, I felt like, maybe I think he's edging me out a little bit. Yeah. But when I look back on the footage, in breaking, you have to do something different every time. Like every single round, you should be showing something new. And the thing about someone like Shiga Kicks is he's incredibly talented. He's doing very explosive movements. Everything is well timed with the music, but he starts to look very similar because he does a lot of similar movements. So they're not exactly the same, but even if you're doing similar movements, sometimes the judges will see that as a repeat because you're just kind of doing variations of the same thing. Whereas again, my strength tends to be that I have a very large vocabulary of very different moves. If you're looking from the outside and you've never seen breaking before, you'll probably think Shiga Kicks won because his movements are a lot more explosive. My approach has a lot more emphasis on the creative side of breaking, of doing things that are, I guess, more appreciated within breaking because it's something that people haven't seen before. But again, if you've never seen breaking before, it's probably very difficult to understand. And again, I think that's something that will need to be educated further for on our side to educate audiences that have never seen breaking before. But it's a hard thing to do because breaking is very subjective. It's very detailed. It's very technical. But yeah, so that's why I when I looked back in the moment, I felt that I lost because I wasn't watching a lot of the battles beforehand, so I didn't know what he did beforehand.
Makes sense.
But then when I went back and watched it, I was like, oh, he's just kind of repeating a lot of the same thing. So I kind of won because of that, just kind of by default.
So one thing I'm noticing here is just like this theme of like in your mind, you're like the loser's mentality you talk about. Obviously, you put so much work into this. Like this is like you've dedicated your life to this. You've literally reached the mountaintop here. How do you manage that relationship with like you're so good and yet losing is a real possibility every time you get out there, and it's so personal, it's all one-on-one. How do you manage that and then also then regain your confidence like you did eventually to capture gold?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's a constant struggle. Like for me too, I've always dealt with imposter syndrome. I've never been super confident, and that's something that's gotten better over the years, but it's something you constantly fight. When you're doing something like breaking, again, it's very subjective, and going into something like the Olympics, we had always seen it as like an art first. More than like a sport, but we're going kind of into the sport world. But my goal going into the Olympics in any event was always like, I don't really care if I win or lose. I just want to do the best that I can, because I see the entire my entire life as like a journey. And so I never wanted to specifically like, this is the end goal. Like there was never one competition or anything that was the end goal. Everything is a process. So if I lose this competition, there were lessons that I'll learn from it, and then I'll do better at the next one. My only goal, why I started breaking, was because I love to do it and it's super fun, and so I want to retain that fun wherever I go. So even when I'm in competition, there's a lot of stress factors, there's a lot of negative self-talk, but I try to always come back to like, okay, why did you start doing this? Because you love doing it. Let's just go out there and enjoy it. And when I enjoy it, when I'm having fun, my body tends to physically loose up a little bit more, and I can get a little bit more free. So I always try to remind myself about that. But I think when you're competing at the highest level of anything, I think that is the challenge, is like everyone especially at the Olympics, for the male side, on the breaking level, everyone is top tier. You know, everyone is the best there. So oftentimes with breaking competition, it's just whose day it is, who's feeling it that day, who's mentally more prepared to win. And that's often the difference, because everyone is physically able, everyone is capable, everyone can beat everyone, but it's just who's mentally on that day, and it's just an internal battle. And so I realized that pretty early on, and it's something that I continue to try to work on. How do I do it? I don't know. It's just like you just kind of figure it out as you go. It really is moment by moment. Though, like there's a lot of competitions where I know I've lost just to myself because mentally I've crashed. There's a lot of moments where I'm like in a battle and I'm like, I can't do it today. Like I'm not in it, or this person deserves to win more than me, or it's just me kind of pounding myself down internally. And that's where you've already lost, because like that physically affects your movements too. When you're going into a competition being like, I can't, or going into a round being like, I can't win this one, your moves will be a lot less impactful. You're putting less energy into it. With something like the Olympics, it's a bit different, because like even when I say I go in with a loser mentality, it's like the good loser mentality for me, in the sense that like I'll go in with this mentality of like, I don't think I'll win, but because of that, I'm going to do the best that I can regardless. Whereas like sometimes I'll go into an event being like, I'm going to lose and I suck and I'm a piece of shit, I can't do this, and then it just kind of goes down. So it depends on like my mental state at the time, and that's something that I constantly work on.
It's crazy to hear that, because like just from the outside looking in, and even from like having talked to you, like you're super confident. You're obviously like, you know, you're best in the world, gold medal at what you do. I wanted to ask you too, what you make of like the music choices that they played at the Olympics? It
was better than previously, and only because they played. It's interesting because music is such a difficult issue with us within the breaking community, because a lot of big events, they can't play a lot of normal music like hip hop tracks or soul or funk or whatever, what we're used to listening to, because of copyright issues. So what happens is there's been a lot of DJs that started creating what they call like break beats that were specifically meant for competitions, and so that's been kind of the standard at like events like Red Bull or other big events. Any event that does a live stream or whatever, because of restrictions, they have to play that kind of music. The Olympics were able to clear a bunch of classic tracks, so it actually completely changed the game, because like the music can often dictate the dancers. So the dancers who are so used to dancing to like break beats, and then suddenly they have like the Mexican playing and they don't know how to dance to that anymore. Whereas I feel like I'm very good at adapting, and for me the music was good.
So wait, do you know the music going in?
No, you don't know what the music's
They
gonna be.
licensed, I think, like 200 tracks or something.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you.
They don't tell
what
us.
the
The
So
track-
you know
DJ
the
just
whole
spins at the moment.
playlist. You
You
just
don't know
what
what
No,
you
no,
like.
no. I don't know what music they're gonna play
that's
at all.
crazy.
Because it was
though.
either you or the person you face in the finals, like a Method Man song came on,
Yeah,
Judgment Day.
Yeah, Judgment Day.
Yeah, and then you guys had to dance to that.
Yeah, but
That was
that's
crazy.
dope. That's
Yeah.
dope because like for us, that's classic. Like you listen to that growing up when you first started breaking, but they don't
Yeah.
play that in competitions anymore because of copyright.
Right.
But because they were able to license that, I think it brings the energy up for us and as well as people who recognize the song. So it took it back to the roots of like more hip hop music than we
Yeah.
normally get in a traditional breaking competition. So that was really, really cool. I actually think they did a great job of the music at the Olympics. The only thing is they should have done it earlier, like throughout the whole process. There was never any of this music throughout the whole process. And so for me, it was fine because I know
Yeah,
the songs
right,
and
right.
I can adapt. But for some people, maybe it's a lot harder. But I also, that's part of breaking. Breaking is a freestyle dance and it's
Yeah.
about adapting to the music. You're never going to know what song they're going to play. So you have to adapt to whatever they play.
That makes it even more impressive for me because it's like I guess I
it's
did
like
I
a
didn't
freestyle.
no
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's
it's a
crazy
freestyle.
though.
Yeah, it's
That's
rooted in
actually
freestyle.
crazy.
A lot of, it's funny because for me, it's so obvious that it's freestyle because obviously this is what I
this
do,
is what you do,
but I
yeah.
forget that regular people think it's like pre-choreographed. It's not pre-choreographed.
Right.
A lot of people, myself included, will have moves that they do at every competition or a
Mm-hmm.
pre-choreographed set or something, but you still have to adapt it to whatever music's playing.
Right. But that's crazy though. If it's like 4/4 time music or like 3/4 time music, that changes entirely. Now you don't know if you can hit the move in the right time. It's all about hitting
it's
it
just
with
adapting
the
it.
coordination.
Yeah, it's adapting to whatever's playing, right?
Because you had this viral moment too. I think it was in the semifinals when you called the other guy's move.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
How did
How did
does
you
that
even
break
know
down?
that was coming?
Because again, it's freestyle. So like, how do you know?
Yes,
this?
Yeah.
yes, it is freestyle, and this is, I would say, like one of my strengths is, again, it's freestyle, but a lot of people have like more pre-choreographed stuff. Chica Kicks, I've battled so many times, and he's one of those dancers that kind of from A to Z, he'll do the same thing. So he's running his stuff. He's very on time with the music. He always
Yeah,
adapts to
okay.
the music, but I already know what moves he's gonna do. And so it's funny because this was like a viral moment, but for us, it's normal. Like I'm so used to calling people's moves, and I do it all the time. And so when it went viral, I was like, oh, that's so funny because I forget that for other people, it looks like I just like called his move out of nowhere, but I knew what was coming. I already knew that he was gonna do that move.
Right.
But when I look back on it, I did hit it really nice. Like it was the exact
Yo,
same.
perfect.
And I was like, okay, that was pretty funny.
perfect.
Yo,
for it.
I don't even know how the judges are doing it. You should have gotten points for that. That's
You usually
points.
do though. It is
You
kind of
do?
like in a sense. It depends on the judge, of course. But it is kind of like strategy. You're basically saying like, yo, you're supposed to be freestyling, but you're not.
Yeah.
Like it's calling out the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like I know what you're gonna do,
Right.
right? So it's like I don't know. It's like Sharingan. Like you know what the other
Yeah.
person's gonna do. So like it's kind of it looks bad on them for sure. That's one of my strengths. Is like even though I'll do the same moves every competition, how I do those moves when I do those are always random because I don't even know what I'm gonna do because it's just based on the music and based on the moment. Like sometimes literally a second before I'll be like, okay, it'll pop into my head that this move will work with the music right now, and then I throw it out. So my strategy is a bit different, and it's a lot more freestyle based in the sense that if I don't know what I'm gonna do, no one else is. You know?
Have you ever talked to him about it afterwards? Like that moment became so famous.
Because you guys are like friends.
You guys
We
are
are
you
friends.
guys know
Yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
yeah.
Are you
I
guys
will-
still friends after
Yeah,
this?
yeah, of course, of course. We're buddies. Like, it's all love. Like,
Okay,
but
all right.
the Olympics is a little bit more stressful. So I remember
Yeah.
I went up to him after, like during on the stage,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Yo, man, like I thought you won that, like, because
Yeah.
I genuinely thought he won." And he didn't say anything. He just left. So I think he was a little bit like,
Yeah, in
eh,
the moment.
yeah,
in the moment.
in
It
the
was-
heat of
it
the
was-
moment, which I totally understood. It's all love after, but like in the heat of the moment, I was like, "Oh, okay." And he was like. Obviously for him too, right after he's like, okay, I lost. I got to
Yeah,
think about the next
of course.
battle. He has to do the bronze medal match, so he had to think about that. So after that, I was like, oh, okay. But it's okay, whatever.
So by now you've already heard the news that Coors Light, as part of the Raptors' 30th anniversary, has these very specially branded cans. They look beautiful. Look at these things, man. Look at these.
They're
beautiful,
covering
beautiful cans.
each era from the first 30 years of the Raptors, and you can get them now at select LCBO stores,
Okay.
participating bars and restaurants across the GTA, and also at Scotiabank Arena. But one more thing, Will, make sure to check out ERAineverycan.com, ERA in everycan.com to check out these limited edition cans. And fans can go on the website and enter for a chance to win exclusive Coors Light Raptors prizes. I heard there's some really cool merch collabs and other things happening as well.
No, I'm actually, you know what? You actually did tell me what those collabs are going to be. And I got to say, like, I'm really, really excited. I know Coors Light is a partner that we've worked with in the past as well, but this is just beautiful. Like, honestly, I don't even know if I want to drink these cans, man. You got like the OG, you know, you got like the championship season, and then you got like whatever's in between. I guess the Chris Bosh can. I'll probably drink the Chris Bosh can if it was me, you know?
I mean, one to rock, one to stock, and also for Raptors fans, like make sure you keep an eye out. Follow Coors Light on social because they're gonna pop up around the city as well.
Oh, word?
I'm hearing they might be at Rogers Center. They might be outside Scotiabank Arena. They might be at Nathan Phillips Square for more prize giveaways. So make sure you check that out. Remember, you must be 19 plus and celebrate responsibly.
I'm gonna be there. I can't wait to celebrate.
We'll move on.
Man, you win the gold medal. Your parents were there.
Yes.
Your family was there.
Yeah.
Just tell me about like you win the gold medal and then what happens after. Like
It's a bit of a roller coaster, like right after, because the battle finishes, you get swept backstage, and right away they're like, you got to change. You got to get into your closing ceremony outfit because there's like a mandatory outfit you have to wear for your closing ceremonies based on your team kit. So I had to go back, I changed, get into my outfit. We do the ceremony, emotional moment for me. That's like when it all hits. More than anything, though, I will be honest, like the first emotion that I felt was relief because of all the pressure and the stress.
Sure.
It wasn't necessarily like happiness. I was more just like, oh, like it felt like a big weight off of my chest because there was so much expectation on me. I felt very good. I felt very proud, like being up there with the ceremony. But then you don't really have time to process it. Right after you get swept backstage, I had to do about media for like literally right after, as you're walking out, you have to go to the media zone. So I do media for about an hour. They let my family and friends come see me for literally like 5 minutes, give them all hugs, congratulations, whatever. I'm swept off again, more media. Then I have to go do doping. So right after you have to do your anti-doping thing, like you have to pee in a cup.
Nice.
That took me about an hour and a half because like I can't usually use the bathroom right after. There's so much adrenaline.
Croissant levels was
Is there just someone waiting around like, yo, man? You know?
There's a whole station, and then like,
yo, can you hurry up?
yeah, you pee in a cup, and like you need a minimum amount, and I was literally like right under the minimum, like literally like a centimeter under the minimum, and so I had to like drink a ton of water to try to get that last little bit. Took me about an hour and a half. Right after, you have to go to the Canada House. So the Canada House is like the main Canadian media house. There, I do another 2 hours of media, so just stringing through everything. The event ends at like maybe 9 p.m. I'm out of done everything at 3 a.m. So it's super late. I'm exhausted.
And closing ceremony is the next day.
The next day,
celebrate? Like,
we did.
Okay,
But
good,
so
okay,
right
good.
after
Make sure.
3 a.m., my
finally.
friends and family meet me at the media house. We're there for a little bit, maybe like 10, 20 minutes. We're just hanging out, talking, whatever. That's when I shoot like a little video of just like a congratulations video. Did all the media. I'm exhausted at this point. And like I like to go out with my friends and stuff. But at that point, I was like, yo, guys, I'm so tired. Like emotionally drained, physically drained, having to do media and be in front of a camera like for hours after that. I was exhausted, but my friends are like, yo, let's go out. And my friend had already organized an after party for the event like a while ago. So this was dope though. I will say this is like, it felt like a movie. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'm still like in my closing ceremony outfit. I have the medal on, haven't showered or anything. But for us, from the Canada House to the village, it's quite far. So I was like, I don't want to go back, shower or whatever. I'm going to fall asleep. Let's just go straight. So we go straight to the club. And this is like a movie moment. You get out of the Uber. The place is packed, like spilling outside. It's a pretty small club. It was Saturday night. It was already busy. On top of that, it was the Olympics and the after party for our event. So all the people we knew was there, as well as just like regular people. But again, movie moment. I walk out. People look at me. They start clapping. The C parts, they let me in. Like, and me and my whole like entourage in. We go upstairs, and it's just like, it felt like a movie moment. Like I walk in, I have the medal around me. I remember my manager like took a bottle off someone's table and just handed it to me, like a bottle of champagne. And I learned this after, and they looked at him like, "What are you doing? That's our alcohol." And then he turned around and showed them the medal, and they're like, "Ah, you good? You good?"
Yo, you think you would have been able to pull that move if it was a bronze medal though?
No,
what do you think is the difference between a gold and a bronze?
I think that's what the difference is.
You go to the bar and try to get the bartender's attention.
Yeah,
You're like,
he's like, nah, he's got your way
You got to do a shot and pay for it before you can go in. Bro.
I guess we'll never know.
You get the third one free.
That's amazing,
but yeah, the whole night was super fun, and then I got home probably at like 7 a.m. It was a good time with like all my friends and family, a bunch of the community there. I was so exhausted though. I was drinking so much, but I couldn't get drunk because I think my body was already just shut down. But regardless, having a good time, surrounded by the people that I love. And then the next day I think I slept for like an hour, and then I had to wake up and do more media. So it's a long process. Then you do the closing ceremonies, and then yeah, it's a lot at once. Like you think you get to just celebrate or whatever right after, but it's like you have to do so much.
Man. I was just gonna say, even think about the gold medal and everything like that. Like, I know you've won so many other competitions, and you did say that, like, you know, in a way, it does feel like another competition, but it's also the Olympics. It's like the time that everyone tunes in for, and then you come away with the gold. It's like you're validated. Like, you put so much effort into this, and you're validated at the highest level in the best moment possible.
Yeah.
How does that change your life, psychologically?
Yeah, and psychologically, not much, I will be honest.
Really?
Like, in the sense that, like, going into it, I know the Olympics is a whole nother scale of event. But when I say it felt like another competition, I meant the day of. So when I was there on the day of, in terms of the environment, I was like, I'm comfortable here. This is my environment. I know how to compete. I know how to perform in front of a crowd. So I felt very comfortable there. I understand that the Olympics is on a whole nother scale. And when I was at the opening ceremonies is when I felt that, like, being on the boat, going across the Seine with all the people watching, I was like, oh, this is a whole nother scale of, like, event. Especially even just, like, the eyes on it, the views on it. Like, my social media was all Olympics. If I post a stupid video, it'll get millions of views. Like, it was an insane time. Psychologically, it doesn't change much. I feel like I've had time. It took me a long time to process. I still think I'm processing it because, like, right after I was kind of on the road, didn't have too much time at home. I feel like I'm still processing, but generally, I don't think it's changed me psychologically, which I think is a good thing. I think I've had I was very lucky. I have been very lucky in my career and my journey of, like, when the Olympics happened. It was when I was performing already really well, when I'm the most confident I've ever been, and going into it the most, like, mentally stable in terms of, like, I know that this is an incredible opportunity, but it's not the be all end all for me. I don't really, like, it doesn't matter that much to me personally. I know it means a lot to my career, and it's done tremendous things for my career, but personally it didn't really mean anything, to be completely honest, because, like, I didn't grow up watching the Olympics. My Olympics was Rebel, like the Rebel BC1 was my Olympics, and so that one meant more to me. For me, being signed as a Rebel dancer meant a lot more to me because that's what I grew up watching. The Olympics was just something that came along the way. Again, it's been an incredible opportunity, and it has been life-changing. And going into it, I wanted to win, of course. But after I won, it was more just like, I did it. I know this is really good for my career, and it's done tremendous things. But it wasn't like I've achieved my dream kind of thing. I will say the Olympic blues is true. Like, the Olympic blues is a common thing that people talk about as an athlete because this is such a big moment in your life and career, and, like, it's such a magical moment that after nothing really feels like anything anymore, you kind of, like, have a little bit of a depressing
I gotta
moment.
come to Red Bull Studios to do a pod.
No, nothing like that. But it's just like, well, even for me, for someone where the Olympics isn't the be all end all, it's like, okay, well, what's next though? Like, any other competition that I do is not on the scale of that.
I think it's really
I've
different
won that
too.
one.
It's really different for your sport too, because, like, basketball players will go back to, like, playing in the NBA. There's, like, a structure to everything. Whereas, like, you're back now on the road doing competitions, just figuring out, like, what's next. Right?
Exactly. But even the competitions that I'm doing, it's like, if I win this one, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't do anything for my career. I make a little bit of money. It's fun for the moment. But then, like, you know, so you kind of go into this blue scale of, like, oh, is that the end? Is that the peak? And that's something I'm working through now. And I know I've been through this enough through a number of different events and times of my life that I know I'll get through it and come out and feel good again. But, like, the Olympic blues is a pretty common thing for athletes.
We want to take this break in the podcast to let you know that we are partnering with Tangerine for this season. For people who aren't familiar, Tangerine is the official bank of the Toronto Raptors and its fans, and Tangerine is a foundational partner of NBA Canada and WNBA Canada. Tangerine is focused on growing the game of basketball in the country from the grassroots level all the way up to the pros, and where you will find a court, you will likely find Tangerine. And that's the mission that really resonated with us because we also share the same goal of growing the game of basketball here in Canada. What you need to know about Tangerine is that they are about forward banking. That means no unfair fees, no overly complicated products, no expensive brick and mortar branches. And if you want to learn more about Tangerine, go to tangerine.ca. Damn.
I could know how that feels one time.
It's okay. You just got to reach the pinnacle of your profession, which will be like #1 in the Apple podcast.
Oh yeah, that's where we are.
Well, we are the #1 basketball podcast.
That's right.
That's
how
dope.
was the Olympic Village, man? Like, what's the vibe like?
It's
just
cool.
hanging out in the Olympic Village for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would imagine. I never went to university. I did for like a tiny bit, but I would imagine it's what a college dorm experience would feel like, except with all high-level athletes. So everyone is like peak condition. Everyone is super like attractive, and there's food all the time. It's a really cool vibe. It's very, very cool. I was lucky too, kind of going into it because I had through throughout the year, I had done a lot of projects with a bunch of the other Canadian athletes, so I knew a lot of people kind of going into it. I will say it was pretty special going in as a breaker because I think we're probably one of the only sports going into it where like I would be at the cafeteria, which is shared by everybody, the main cafeteria and we're probably the only table where you'll see multiple countries. Like I was hanging out with my friend Hong Ten and my friends from Morocco and my friends from wherever. So it's like everyone is sitting at one table, whereas every other table is based on country. They're just sitting with their country mates, you know, which makes sense with other sports, but because of breaking, it's a lot more universal and cultural. And it was never about that before. It was just about your people. That was a pretty cool experience, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Again, it feels like a school dorm a little bit walking around. It really is like a mini city. You have everything there. You had bakeries, you had a laundry place, you had the cafeteria, you had chill areas. Like it's a pretty special experience.
Special experience with cardboard beds.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
How are the
cardboard
beds?
They were very uncomfortable, I will say. Like they were like rock solid.
Sick.
I was pretty lucky because most people have to share apartments. I was pretty lucky just on the timing.
Wait, they gotta share apartments too?
A lot of people have to share rooms. Like
Share rooms?
Yeah,
We
it
we
really is
bunking at the
full. Yeah, you're
Olympics.
bunking. Yeah,
On paper boxes.
college dorm experience. But I was
Expose
very
the
lucky. I got my own room. And it had like 3 beds, and I just put them together and made like one super bed. Still uncomfortable, but at least it was bigger. And then we were pretty lucky because Red Bull actually helped us out a lot. They gave us a new mattress. So they gave all their athletes mattresses. So
Gave
you
you
just have to go
wings.
pick it. Yeah,
Gave
they gave
you
us
wings,
wings.
bro.
Oh, okay. Great plug,
Let's go.
Alex. Congratulations.
But then, so I got the new mattress from them. Team Canada was very good because like none of the apartments were air conditioned, but they gave us all portable air conditioning. So they set us up really nicely. Still uncomfortable though.
No AC, paper boxes, and bunking, but you did it. Congratulations. You
Thank
did
you
it for
very
the whole
much.
country, man.
Thank
Seriously,
you, I
all of
appreciate
Canada thanks you.
Yeah,
This
no,
is amazing.
really appreciate making
Yeah.
the time and like, yeah, best of luck with everything. You know, been following you for the past like year plus and really excited to see what's next for you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.